So good morning to everybody that's dialed into this webinar so far. We'll just give it a minute. We're fairly prompt at 11:30, so we'll wait for any stragglers or anyone that's just on time to dial in. So for those that are listening, we're aiming to keep this to 30 minutes. The sun's shining, and I'm sure you've all just come in from sunbathing outside, so we'll get you back outside in 30 minutes. Right, so I think we're going to start, because otherwise we sit here in an awkward silence because nobody knows what to say for a couple of minutes. So we'll start. We're recording this anyway, so for those that are a little bit late, you can dial in for the introductions after we publish it. So that firstly, thanks for all of you for coming to or signing up and attending this. What is the next one in our webinar series? Yeah, thanks for coming and welcome. So I'm joined today by two fantastic guests, friends and long-time object matrix and periphery customers. So good to see you, chaps. I think we'll just do a bit of an intro if possible. So that for those that don't know me, Pete, sales director at Perifery. For those that don't know who Perifery are, we were Object Matrix. We were acquired by a company called Datacore, and we are the media division of Datacore. So I'll hand it over to you, chaps. You just want to do a very brief introduction?
Yeah, I'm Rich Moss, and that picture is about 20 years old. So we have suffered since. I set up Gorilla about 25 years ago as an editor, kind of linear tape days, really, and been the MD for quite some time as we've moved through technologies and workflows and customer bases.
Cool. I'm Roger James. I'm the Director of Technology and Operations. I've been with Gorilla for the last 12 years. Previous to that, I've worked for broadcasters such as the BBC, and also in film post-production for the last, well, almost 30 years, etc. So seen a lot of changes with how we're working, new changes coming up with AI, etc. So lots to talk about.
Great. Thanks, guys. Well, let's just run through what we're aiming to achieve today. So just a bit of an agenda. We'll just do a bit of an introduction. Actually, we've just done that. We'll do a bit of an overview of Gorilla and just a bit of a background. We'll talk about the early days, if we can remember back that far. We'll talk about what the requirement was and the problems to be solved. We are then going to talk about the sort of fast forward 15 years and where we are now, the current solution, the current deployment, and then where we're going in the future collaboratively and where Gorilla are heading to. And then we'll open it up for a little bit of a Q&A for those that have any questions for Rich and Rodri. So just before we begin, I think it's fair to say we're celebrating 2 birthdays or milestones, should I say. So the point in this webinar is we're celebrating 15 years of Object Matrix and Perifery working with Gorilla. But as the two guys reminded me a couple of days ago at the Village Fete, it's actually 25 years of Gorilla. So quite a milestone. So on that note, chaps, do you just want to give a bit of an introduction into Gorilla and what you do and a bit of the history and things like that?
Well, should I start? I'll start with history, if you like. I think Gorilla has evolved as a post house like many others had. We started off with one linear tape suite and you know, the first non-linear kind of Avid setup. So we've grown organically over quite a long time, adopting new technologies. We've also we were a small boutique, then we had split sites, then we did a big consolidation into a larger single company. Then since then we've expanded again with other sites. So where we're at now is Gorilla's sitting on, you know, between 100 and 200 kind of Avid seats, very much an Avid house with a very hybrid setup of working remotely and in facility. approximately 10 dubbing suites, 10 grade online suites, lots of other services as well that I'm sure Rod will go into. But we've also got a site, a main headquarters in Cardiff, by Cardiff Bay. We have another smaller boutique facility that's all connected in the city centre itself, about 20 or so offline rooms, online dub, standalone but connected, and something very similar in Bristol. And we've also got quite a few smaller editorial facilities in various studios as well, some connected, some not. So that's kind of a bit of an overview of where we are with Gorilla today.
And in terms of the type of work we do, which is kind of the challenges, is we tend to do all the genres. So I'm currently planning some live MMA mixed martial arts this weekend we're doing. We're also in the middle of doing a feature film with William Dafoe in it. We're also finishing off some other scripted high-end dramas. And then on top of that, we do lots of non-scripted. For example, we do Bargain Hunt for the BBC, which is 96 one-hour episodes a year. We also do other shows like Gardener's World. We literally do every genre to different levels. So high volume to low volume, but tier 1 or even tier 0 in terms of delivering to your Netflix, Apple, etc.
Cool, perfect. Thanks, chaps. Always busy down at Gorilla, and quite the expanding empire, let's say, over the past however many years, and great to see that you've moved into Bristol as well, because the need is taking you that way. So let's then thanks for the intro. Let's go on to then the relationship that we've had now. Quite a while ago, 2009, when it first started. So if you can remember back that far, do you want to just talk through how it all started, and sort of focusing on what the requirements were back then, what the challenges were, the problems that needed to be solved, things like that?
Yeah, well, I think, and I did have to really think back. It was such a long time ago that we were quite the boutique at the time. So I think we probably only had about 12 edit suites in total, and we still had a bit of linear work, but really kind of 12 non-linear suites feeding through into online. No dubbing at that time as well. But really around the time that we looked at Matrix Store, we were just coming off it was really the tape to file conversion, really, that we were moving away from tape and conforming and working in proxies. We were also on Avid Unity kind of shared storage, so we were load balancing the online and the offline, the data rates. It was all quite kind of complicated, and at that stage clients were coming in with just hard drives, and it was literally shelves with hard drives, and the expense of the single tier of storage that we had. We pretty much were just looking at, right, we need another tier of storage. What do we want from that tier of storage? And that's where we started talking to Object Matrix and looking at the Matrix Store, initially as our first nearline concept. But I think we identified it as being able to add a bit more. It wasn't just a cache to go to LTO, because we were also, this is the point where we were also trying to back up clients' media and get rid of these drives. But we were also quite a small operation there, so we wanted ease of use. This was a long time before, yes, we understood our checksums, but we wanted to be very, very confident that when clients came in with material, which was often at that stage as well, raw camera cards, they hadn't been managed or backed up by the client as well, that we had something easy to use, very safe, and actually had the technical support and interest of a company that wanted to move this forward with us. So we quickly started working out that this wasn't just a nearline, it wasn't just camera rushes. We were also migrating between storages, using LTO, having a bit of archive. So that's kind of where we started thinking, oh, there's more we can do with this. and mount and use the media as well in edits for what we wanted. So it was really quite an R&D process of identifying a bit of cleverer storage with people we thought we could move it forward with.
Okay, and so quite I guess sort of quite an agile platform at the time. So what, apart from the things you've mentioned, what were the standout reasons why at the time the let's call it the object matrix, because branding has changed since then. So
yes.
What were the sort of standout reasons why the technology was why you decided to go with the technology, and why object matrix were chosen as a company to work with?
Well, I think because at the time, again, we were very small staff. It was the editors running their projects. We're talking 2 people in a machine room as well, working with things. I think the fact that we could mount storage and have things semi-live while being absolutely confident that we were backing up and being able to report that we had all the media. It did start off as a secure media store, that then we found that we could use it a lot more as a real working other tier of storage. And that was the early days of starting it. I mean, since then, I think we have moved on to various usages, including archive and deep archive, and I say semi-asset management and vision. But at that time as well, we were thinking of, we'd started expanding with separate sites. So we were really interested in the idea of actually being able to get a second unit and work towards mirroring and disaster recovery and offsite, again, happening in a very, very simple, managed, we know it's happening, it's safe way. So we were thinking about that at the start, and that became quite an important factor, didn't it?
Absolutely, and just rewinding back a little bit, we were coming from tape. Tape was known as being robust, stay in various producers' car boots overnight and could deal with all sorts of scenarios of robustness. And in the early days of card-based cameras, we just needed to make sure that we had storage which had high integrity and also understood what was being ingested to it. So, what the object matrix offered us clustered storage, at an economical price. So that level of redundancy, sitting over a minimum of 3 nodes, was key. The fact it was constantly doing hash sums on the media, so if something wasn't right for some reason in terms of it checking the integrity of what was sitting on it, it would let you know. And also on the way as the media would go from cards to the storage, it would also do an additional MD5 checksum in going in. And all of this at that time were very advanced. A lot of this stuff now, we assume these tools are available, but at that time these tools weren't available. People weren't talking in hashtag terms and weren't talking about the kind of fingerprinting your card media and making sure that integrity sits with your storage. So those goals initially, to make sure we had something robust. And also one of the interesting bits is quite early on, Object Matrix developed some media aware tools. So it was aware of certain metadata on P2 cards. So you could search for cards, search for additional metadata. So you had a platform that was more than just storage. It was storage, secure storage, in the sense of you knew your data was safe by all the hashtag checking. But also you could find what you needed as well and refer back. So for us, offering to our clients where we were storing their data, it's not our data, it's their data, and being able to tell them that we had a solution that had complete integrity was key to us, and also gave us confidence. And it's the simple path here. That's why we're still using it today.
Yeah, you just reminded me actually that we were at that time as well. People were shooting on all manner of cameras. It was kind of pre-GoPro, but all things coming in that we were pretty much an avid house, and we'd have to convert this, whether this was transcoding to low-res proxies or I say full res, or it's kind of pre-native res days. But it also offered us the ability to go, let's not worry about that, let's leave it there. Then the editor would mount it and actually have a look through. Now, we're not saying they'd run the edit, but it was a way of going, I'll just have that bit. So if you've got 8 hours of GoPro, for instance, we were able to have a look, all right, that's the shot I want, let's bring it over. And at the price of the main storage, that was quite a good way of working as well at the time.
Brilliant, thanks both, very interesting. It's very interesting to know as well that disaster recovery was actually your mindset even all the way back then. And certainly I guess that the fact that it's client's content that you're protecting, and it's the ensuring that that it is secure. So look, we've then both as companies moved on considerably since 2009, the last 15 years, and lots has changed. We've been through various iterations in our partnership, and so do you want to sort of bring us up to date as to where we are now? So what evolved over the years, and that's quite a number of years to cover. What evolved over the years and sort of to where we are now, and sort of talk through the new models set up, things like that.
Well, okay, if I start with the older history and you can do the clever bits, Rod. But yeah, I think, obviously storage is like a dustbin that kind of grows and grows. Always a need, Moore's law, that type of thing. But for us, I think when we started getting into kind of scripted work as well, we were an insurance companies really caring about this media. We definitely have needs to get media off-site if the building burned down. And by this stage, we had other options and sites, and we grew our matrix store clusters. We separated them. We had them linked. So we were able to, I remember a few rate cards where we actually, we'd back up media, and then we'd say within 24 hours, it's on another site. Not the idea of the data operator having to take the LTO home with them. So this was very pre kind of TPN and security, but we were doing it back then. So that was the expansion of the clusters and the connectivity across sites is one thing. But then one of the main things that I think we changed was the cost as we were getting more and more clusters and scale and size. Buying new ones at end of life and support was becoming quite a big factor. So that's where we discussed storage as a service. And we just very quickly came up with the concept of, well, if we bought it and 5 years later, we wanted twice as much and we didn't want to throw this away, how can we work with you to come up with a solution? And we came up with a storage as a service solution, which is where we are at now with just much larger scale.
So in terms of what we're actually running these days, we are running 2 large clusters. And these clusters, we're very much an on-prem company. We do use some cloud services where appropriate and where we can control the cost as such. Or where the client requirements are needed for that. So we have 2 large clusters that are on two of our sites, so the geography split, and then across our own private metropolitan network, we allow these clusters to replicate to each other. So as clients' data arrives and is copied, whether that's from internet delivery, so a Signion server or something like that, or if media's arrived by hand, by a hard disk or something like that, as that lands onto our matrix store, that data is replicated in real time to our other cluster, and vice versa. So if data turns up in the other cluster, so we have this kind of perfect resilience scenario of multiple sites. The storage for us works in terms of a disaster recovery where the storage are on 2 sites. So if one site was evacuated for some reason, we can go to the other site and literally access that data. So that scenario works for our kind of operational business continuity perspective. And on top of that, one of the latest layers, or certainly in the last 3 years, we've added, we're using Vision as well. If you don't know what Vision is, it's a HTML front end to the Matrix store that allows you to see the content. Obviously, there's some user control of who can see what. And also that's available, if you make it available publicly, then you can upload, download assets, search for assets, and it gives you that element of portal within the organization to do stuff. So we're very comfortable now that we have a business continuity problem or a disaster recovery issue solved in a very slick way. There's no operational overhead to this. The storage is set up, and then the vaults. If you don't, the Matrix store uses a term called vault for workspaces, which I quite like because it sounds secure, because it is. So you can replicate your chosen vaults. Whether you want to replicate it on site, but you can replicate it off site. And also, something we have touched upon, if we need to replicate those vaults outside of our organization, so whether we want to go to S3 or go to Perifery hosted Matrix or elsewhere, we can replicate outside of the organization as well. So really, technically, it gives me so many options. So much flexibility and security and data integrity. I'm quite thrilled. I don't need to think about it. It's just a solution that's there, sits there, operates. And as Richard mentioned, the financial model, so moving away from CapEx to an OpEx model, storage as a service, means they're not even managing the finances either, really. We know there's a deal. I know what we're going to pay over a period. There's no ingress, outgress costs. It's very controllable. And certainly my experience with other vendors is that you need to manage them a bit more. And we're not, we have people managing the storage or the data on it rather, but we don't need to manage the storage itself. It's set up and, lights off basically, and off it goes.
Yeah, and it's just as flexible commercially as well, because we're not a broadcaster, we're not a production company where it's all about our policies. We've got to charge clients, and the vaulted storage works very well. That if somebody wants it backed up, we just click a button and they've got it backed up. If actually we want that it all in one location, because there might be LTOs or diff LTOs or something else happening, we can just switch it off. So it gives us really nice commercial opportunities as well to offer clients. That is very, very straightforward, that we've used to help build our rate card.
Brilliant, perfect. Thanks, chaps. Very comprehensive, very good. And amazingly, we're already 2 years into our second 5-year commercial term, which is
yes,
time flies. On that note, time has flown. So short, snappy questions now. Firstly, why continue with OM? So everything's evolved, and the business has evolved. Why continue with OM?
Well, storage as a service, that's absolutely that works for us. We are being a completely multi-genre, expanding in locations post-house, having a storage solution that, as Rod just went through, works for every business case and need. Bit of archive, bit of nearline, bit of direct access, bit of clients man kind of side as well. It just gives us everything we want.
Yeah, so a lot of people expect me, which I have been doing, talking about the technology, but to me, one of the key elements in buying or procuring equipment is relationships. To me, that's everything. People who I can talk to, talk some issues. These days, it's in the world of information security, cyber security, etc. Little questions come up. We're all constantly doing tests. Somebody I can pick up the phone with, understand my requirements and be able to implement it. And in respect of Object Matrix and Perifery now, it's a partner that I can work with, and that's, to me, underlines a relationship, and also listens to, it would be nice to have this feature into it, or have you thought about this? It's something we haven't mentioned. We've beta tested software over the years, and so we have a very close relationship where we can influence the software, etc. So that relationship to me is everything.
And I guess that's how we've sort of kept in line with your evolving business, is we've had that direct communication. So if there's something you need testing, or there's something you're trying out, or whatever it might be, you want some features or looking at various options, we have those conversations, and we work collaboratively like that. Perfect. Great answers, guys. Just a couple of questions now on the futures and things like that. One of them is storage needs are always growing. It doesn't go away. It only gets bigger. How do you guys manage that?
Well, I think one thing is we have managed it with matrix stores, so we are very confident of actually moving from different bits of tin and scaling up, whether it's adding nodes, removing nodes, adding sites, replicating. Having gone through that path, there's a great confidence again, so that as you've suggested, where in 2 years' time we'll probably be starting about the next deal on the table and scale. But we've got great confidence of knowing, that's not going to be an issue, no matter what the petabyte count is at the time. I don't want to mention the AI words, but I'll leave you to that one, Rod. That's definitely, yeah.
So that's going to be my next question, actually. Do you want me to ask that question?
I won't answer that then. But I mentioned the cloud. I've quite often also mentioned I don't like the term cloud. I prefer the word hosted in most of the cases. But there's no doubt that we will have more hosted storage solutions. That is something strategically we're looking at. We are looking at various data centers and looking at, strategically where those data centers need to be, what is the speed of latency to the storage and distances. So, the big part for us is remote. What we haven't mentioned is we mentioned a physical estate, but we run 100 remote media composers. So understanding that remote piece, understanding where our clients are, understanding latency and where that storage sits, that's very much what we're looking at. And that strategic bit is comes down to bricks and mortars, contracts. The technology, to some extent, is straightforward, but actually the business model is more complicated.
Yep, absolutely. So on to another question that is very long-winded and could take a long time, but we don't have the time. So in a very brief, snappy answer, AI. Now, the reason I'm mentioning it is because part of Perifery, we acquired an AI company back at the end of last year. And so what we're trying to do is add functionality to our current interfaces just to improve the way you can find, search, and distribute your content. So what's your take on AI and what's your potential uses?
Yeah, well, generally AI, it'll change everything, and it'll change nothing. It's a tool, like we've had tools coming through that have, when we look back, the idea of spending all day conforming tape, whereas now we press a button, we'll be doing things. I think it's an exciting opportunity to find more tools to help our business, and it won't completely change our business. We'll evolve with it and carry on being the creatives that we are. But there will be new and exciting tools, and it's something that we'll actually need to expose media to get the optimum usages of them. But it's quite nice to be in the early days of something exciting that will have an impact, but I feel a positive one.
I mean, the quick answer is we're using it. We see it as natural evolution. I suppose the fascinating thing with AI is the pace, not so much the technology, arguably. We very much, from a creative perspective, a creative post-production production, we see it as an additional tool, as Richard mentioned. So we're using it as tools to help to get things done, not quicker, but on time, and get it done within the budgetary requirements.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Good answer. Two more left. What do you, before I open it to Q&A, two more left. What do you expect from a technology partner? So you've touched on quite a few things before, but sort of briefly, what do you expect from any technology partner moving forward?
Relationship. I think that's what you said first. Still being around, still caring about the sector that matters to us. So confidence in that partner, and yeah, communication. Some of the technology that we use, the only negative side is, yeah, you can never talk to them though, or yeah, it's great, but it's locked in. It is what it is. I think the relationship is just so key. It's everything.
I personally think if a technology vendor can't communicate, doesn't have the right distribution, they might have great technology but can't communicate with that, then I will not get involved with it, because it's a partnership.
Understanding the clients.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And 15 years is a solid partnership, and a great one as well. Last one, and then we'll open it to Q&A. It's just, again, you've touched on this quite a bit, but how do you see the next 5 years? And that's sort of, again, an open question. But how do you see the next 5 years? Not particularly just for us, but for Gorilla and evolution and things like that. How do you see it changing?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of kind of business changes and business models really coming out of this, and we're definitely in an interesting period of disruption it's been constantly disruptive since the pandemic, really. Pandemic, strikes, Brexit, it's been such a changing industry that it's quite exciting to be able to still be nimble and react, adopt technologies, working practices, and push your business ahead. So, with disruption comes opportunity. I think we'll see more. We're likely to see smaller setups. I think larger post-production companies as well. We'll get through this quiet period of 24, and I think it'll be interesting to see how the streamers settle down or the broadcasters start commissioning again, whether we see a big genre divide. Because that's something, being multi-genre, we're just busy, but actually we look back, wow, that was a factual year. Oh, this is now a scripted year. Now we're 50-50. So I think it's more exciting to see what the businesses turn into and how we can look to emerging technologies and locations where geography doesn't matter at all, or it completely matters for commissioning reasons, whether you're in a nation or a region or the UK or tax credits. So working in this hybrid way where you can actually have a business model that utilizes geography, cloud, hosted services, and access to emerging technologies. I wish I could predict it, because then we know exactly where we would be in five years. But I think it's an exciting and optimistic viewpoint from my standpoint anyway.
Yeah, I mean, difficult to predict really. I mean, we can talk tech, obviously we touched on AI. In terms of our business, really I have to look into the future of the PSBs in the UK, so public service broadcasters, and also what are the large streamers, what work they bring into the UK as well, and the recent tax cut that will be coming into the market in 2025, April 2025 next year, will be very interesting for the UK market. So difficult to predict from our business, but it's all about our clients really.
Great, thanks chaps, good answers. I mean, it's fair to say it's a challenging time at the moment for many in our sector, so let's just hope that improves in the future. So brilliant, thanks very much for all of the answers to your questions. So I'm now going to open it up. I know we're running it a little bit over, so we'll open it up to any questions that anybody has for Rich and Rodri at Gorilla. We have something that's come in, but it's not really a question. So nice hair, Peter, says Ivor. Glastonbury haircut, what can I say? Oh, here we go. We've got a question here. What AI tools have you been utilizing so far, from Charlie Rickson?
Okay, well, I'll mention a couple. A few tools we've used for a couple of years. So in audio post-production, we use the Isotope post-production bundle, and I think it's the Neuron plugin within that, which uses MI as a way of cleaning up sound. We've used that for several years. We're now running our Baselight, our film light Baselight, the color correction, our grading tools. Our fleet has now gone to version 6. So we're using machine learning facial tracking on that. Obviously, that's also in Resolve, which we use at all. Transcription services, again, all very much machine learning and purposely using ML. So generative is something we haven't used extensively yet. Unfortunately, I find myself using ChatGPT because it does. I don't know whether we mentioned we're a Welsh company, so it does a very good job in translating Welsh to English, etc. So there you go.
And I think it's that the legals side is a difficult thing as well, because while we're looking at security and media as well, there's tools that we can use internally, some tools externally, but we're looking for production companies and broadcasters to kind of tick and accredit, and a lot of it is, hang on, this is a great tool. No, we can't use that yet, not with our media. So there's a lot to move forward with on people actually understanding rights and usage.
Yeah, I think there's a very good point by Rich there. Really, when we're using AI at the moment, the data's staying on-prem. With exception of my ChatGPT. The understanding, I think what people are not talking about is understanding rights, and when you drop content, let's say another producer's content into the cloud to do something, you don't necessarily have control over that data's gone. So I think you need to be, we're very much looking in policy of use of AI and understanding where that data goes, because I think it's going to cause a big problem in the future.
Brilliant, great answer. I think that's it from questions. 30 seconds, any more from any more? I don't think we have any more coming in. So on that note, we've run over a little bit, but only because some brilliant conversation from Rich and Rodri from Gorilla. So look, I just want to say thanks very much, you two, for joining, and it's been great to have you. And also congratulations on 25 years of Gorilla. That's quite a milestone, and at the same time, 15 years of us working together. Long may that continue, and hopefully in a long time, but another 15 years, we'll be having a similar webinar saying exactly the same thing. Thanks everybody for joining. Hope it was useful. If you are watching this in a recorded session, then do feel free to get in contact with us, and happy to share more information. But thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.